What's going on, guys? You're watching the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean-Paul Leek, and this is Rope Break. And, we got a special edition right after the show ending, not even 10 minutes after the show is over. Here I am to review Monday Night Raw. And this show actually, it wasn't great. Raw's usually never great. I said last week it was all right. This week it was a step down. We got some decent Survivor Series build. The main event scene is really good right now, even with The Miz and John Morrison in it. They're portrayed in a jokey manner, but hey, somebody's got to be the fall guy. It's them. But even they're portrayed legit in this main event feud on Monday Night Raw. And of course, we saw some stuff for the Survivor Series build, like I had mentioned, Survivor Series build with the women and everything else. But before we get into the full show review, make sure you check out everything from last week. And, yesterday we had a bunch of soccer videos. Check that out if you guys are a fan of that, which I know you are. So let's start with the show. And it opened up. Randy Orton came out, obviously WWE champion. He came out with his belt, and he says that, it was 8 days ago where he won his WWE championship, the 14th time. And he's one of the greatest legends. He lists everybody who he's beat. And he's like, I was the legend killer, but now it seems like I'm just the legend. Like I said, he lists off all the names, The Undertaker, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, all these guys. And of course, he mentions Drew McIntyre as well. He beats him. And then he says, but he also knows with being the champion, he has a target on his back. He's not only the best, in WWE, and he's not only a legend, but he knows that there's a target. So he's like, anybody in the back who wants to come out and challenge me and face me, let's do it. Fiend, Roman Reigns, The Miz, he calls out everybody. We hear Alexa Bliss's music. Well, she comes out, and, commentary's like, what the hell, Alexa Bliss? That's not who I expected. And it's like, dude, really? Like, this is just for the Fiend. So she comes out, and, the smile on her face and everything, and she holds up her hands, and on her gloves it says play and pain. And then she laughs, and she's like, oh, the Fiend could be here. And then his music hits, and Randy Orton's looking around. Everything goes black. When it comes back on, Drew McIntyre's there. Boom, he hits a Claymore. And then, he pretty much says that, I'll make your life a living hell. And that he's, he's like, give me a rematch. He's like, I'm the only one who's going to beat you. And then the Miz and Morrison, they hit because they're like, well, he just hit a Claymore. Why not? So then Miz is like, I'm going to cash in. And then you have Drew McIntyre. He pretty much lays them both out before this thing can even start. And then that is actually when he says, I'm going to be the only one who defeats Randy Orton for this belt. So he holds up the belt. So the Miz tried to cash in. They didn't ring the bell. They had the ref and everything come down. They're like, oh, he's cashing in, but the bell didn't ring, so they didn't actually count it. So he still has the money in the bank briefcase. So good opening segment. Like I said, I really like the main event stuff going on in Monday Night Raw. But then we get Elias versus Jeff Hardy in the guitar on a pole match. Then a match at a pay-per-view. Wasn't the blow-off. I guess this is the blow-off. But, nobody cares. He comes to the ring. And he's like, says to Hardy that, you want to talk about how great you are? Well, look at me. My, record or CD or whatever the hell they call it was #1 in the charts and everything. And, he's like, my career has already eclipsed you. And then, he's like about to start playing his song. And like always, he's interrupted Jeff Hardy's music. And then we get this match. So, I was zoned out. I hate this stipulation. This is a total Jeff Jarrett kind of like a bullshit thing. Oh, like you play guitar? Like, oh, let's use the guitar. Like, I don't know. At least when Jarrett, he had the attitude, especially if you're going like TNA Jarrett, he had the attitude and everything. Elias is done. And, who's cheering for Elias? Nobody. Everybody wants Hardy to win. And how did this thing go? At the end of it, Elias, he tries to get a hold of Hardy, but then Hardy jumps from the top rope, smashes the guitar on Elias's back. And he wins it. He pins him. And even though I'm pretty sure you just had to smash the guitar. So when he pinned him, I don't know. But winner Jeff Hardy. Does anybody care? I don't. Hopefully Jeff Hardy can now move on to bigger and better things. And maybe he'll be the last person on Survivor Series team. I doubt it. But who knows? Hopefully he moves on to something good. Then we get a commercial break, and when we come back, we see Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. They're going against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Anybody, like this match is thrown together. Why are you doing this? This is just to cause some kind of tension going into Survivor Series. Doesn't make any sense. But before, everything goes, the match starts, Lana, she comes down and she's going to watch this thing. So the match starts going, and then eventually Lana, she gets involved. She gets distracted, and then Mandy Rose, she takes over this against Shayna Baszler, and that was kind of like, we remember Shayna Baszler when she debuted, and then we see her getting beat up by Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. But then Brooke goes to hit a back elbow, but then Shayna Baszler gets her in the Kirifuda clutch, and then Lana goes to the apron to break it up. But then Brooke gets the roll-up, gets a roll-up for the 3, but the ref can't count it because Lana's on the apron. So then Baszler puts the Kirifuda clutch on her again, and Dana Brooke taps out. So we did see it's like, a little bit of distraction. But again, I don't know why you're doing this. It's all causing tension. I could see maybe after Survivor Series you do this, but you should try to kind of keep the group, as one going into the pay-per-view. But maybe that's the whole storyline, is because it seems like both Raw sides for the Survivor Series teams are fighting. So maybe that'll be the story going into the pay-per-view. Who knows? But then we go back to Randy Orton. He's asked if it's going to be difficult to hold on to the championship, given, all the people who are coming after him. And Orton says that people forget how easy it is for the hunters to be the hunted. And he said that Drew will be reminded, in the form of the 3 most dangerous letters, RKO. So that whole shtick, that's again a forced WWE. Hey, Randy Orton, the 3 most dangerous letters. Keep saying that. Okay. Thanks. It's a dead promo. Nobody cares. And then back, we see R-Truth for the 24/7 championship. He's in the ring, or not for the 24/7 championship. He is the 24/7 champion. He enters the ring, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to have a match with Bobby Boucher. I'm going to have him sign my water bottle. It's going to be good. And they're like, no, it's Bobby Lashley. And he's like, what? He's like, I don't want to fight Bobby Lashley. And he puts me in the Nelson from Simpsons. So he lays down, and he's like, oh, hey, come on, man. Like, just pin me. We don't have to beat each other up. We're both champions. We're going into Survivor Series. And Lashley's like, no, get up. So he pretty much hits him with a spear, hurt lock, done. Poor R-Truth. Anybody care? No, but like I said, poor R-Truth. Then we get post-match, Lashley puts the hurt lock in once more, sending a message, to Sami Zayn. But then after this, Drew Gulak comes out. He tries to pin R-Truth. Lashley takes him out, and then he applies the hurt lock, and then he throws Gulak on top of him. So then the ref counts 1, 2, 3. Gulak is your new 24/7 champion. Again, nobody really cares. Then backstage, we see the Lucha House Party. They're looking to get the 24/7 title from Gulak, but Jordan Ome Begin, or however you say AJ Styles, 7-foot tall bodyguard, he steps in the way, and AJ Styles, he has a message for the Survivor Series teammates after the break. So obviously they were intercepted. They saw the big guy, and we're like, we're taking off. So then we know we're waiting for this message. In the back live, we see Nia Jax. She's being interviewed with Lana, or about Lana, excuse me. And Jax, she's mad. She's like, okay, you want to try to interfere in our match? You want to screw with me? She's like, don't even mention Lana. And then she's like, oh, well, what? And then Sarah Schreiber was like, oh, yeah, about Lana. She's like, I told you not to mention her name. She's like, Lana has an opportunity to pick herself up. And by the end of the night, Jax says that Lana won't be on the Team Raw anymore because she's going to end her career. So Nia Jax is pissed. Then we get a promo by AJ Styles. He's in the ring, and he puts over the SmackDown Survivor Series team, but he says Raw already has the advantage. He says that SmackDown lacks someone with the intangibles to be a leader and who has the it factor. And he says that they don't have anyone like him, Captain Styles. So then, he keeps going on, putting himself over, oh, I'm legit, even my intangibles have intangibles. He's just really hamming it up because he has the big 7-foot whatever bodyguard. So then he keeps making it clear that he's the Raw team captain, despite, nobody was like, oh, yeah, AJ, you're the captain. And then he introduces the rest of his team, Keith, Lucius Lee, and the fella, Sheamus. So then they come out, and Styles says that Sheamus and Lee are the best of the best, and that their success is his success. And the Lee interrupts and says that neither Sheamus or him agreed to call Styles the captain, and if you think your sizable friend is enough to intimidate me, you should think twice. And then Styles, he pretty much just tries to be like, hey, guys, come on. Like, let's all just be legit. We're all good, trying to calm it down. Just, hey, we all want to work together. We all want to win, but I'm the captain. And, then Braun Strowman comes out. And then Strowman says, he's the only thing Team Raw needs is these hands. And then Lee's like, Braun needs to qualify just like the rest of them. Braun lists his Survivor Series resume and reminds Lee that he's pinned him 2 weeks ago. And you can see that these guys, they're really getting pissed off. They're about to go to blows. Adam Pearce, he comes out and he's like, hey, I would love to have Braun on Team Raw, but nobody wants to go against him for a qualifying match. And I'm not just going to put him on the team. So then AJ says, hey, why don't you, do a triple threat with these 2 guys here, and if he wins, he's on the team, and if he doesn't, and if my 2 guys who are already on the team win, then he doesn't get it. And then neither of the 2 object, so we get the match. I don't. They want Braun Strowman on the team. I get they want to put him over as a monster and this and that. You're telling me you couldn't just pick some random dude to put him in a qualifying match against? We saw, spoiler alert, they jobbed Tucky out in 3 seconds tonight. You couldn't job Tucky out to Braun Strowman right here. You couldn't do that for him, but we got this match. And again, this is just to, like I said, it's to cause the tension on both Raw teams for Survivor Series. Both teams are like on the breaking point. So we get this triple threat. They're beating the hell out of each other. Pretty much the 2 guys on the team will fight each other after they deal with Strowman. Like they'll beat up Strowman. What did they, the ones Strowman cleared off the announce table. He tried to put them through it, and they sent him over the top of the announce table with the steel chairs, like rammed it into him. He went flying. He sold that. So then they started going to blows. Like none of them tried. As soon as they knocked out Strowman, they'd go after each other. Instead of just pinning Strowman, be like, screw you, we don't want you on our team, which is what they should have done. They let Strowman get the advantage eventually at the end of this thing, but they hit the huge big man spot, the big like Power of Doom or whatever you want to call it, Tower of Doom, power bomb thing, whatever, in the corner. So then it was like, oh, the suplex, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe the ring didn't explode and all that. And then Sheamus goes for the bro kick, but Braun interferes. Lee capitalizes with a clothesline and goes for the spirit bomb, but Sheamus hits a bro kick on Lee. But then Braun picks up Sheamus and hits a power slam for the win. So Braun is on Team Raw. Post-match, everybody, AJ's like, everybody, come on, let's get on the same page here. And they're like, okay. They all shake hands. They're like, yeah, and then I believe it was I think Sheamus kicked out Keith Lee, and then like they all pretty much just kicked each other out of the ring, and AJ's like, oh my God, like AJ's like freaking out. He's like, come on guys, we just want to win. But then I like AJ in this, so I feel like this is good. And if Keith Lee comes out of it good and whatever, I shouldn't expect a nice working team here, but something a little bit better. And then we see Angel Garza. He cuts a promo for a special someone, likely watching. And then he says that while we cannot share each other's company, we can share the same intimate feelings. I know you are out there with these brilliant eyes and irresistible smile. This rose is for you. So there you go. Repackaging him to the extreme Latin lover instead of just sprinkling it in there. Now it's going to the extreme. So then Back Live commentary hypes up the 30 Days of the Dead Man. Good stuff on the network. Check out some of that if you haven't already. And then backstage, we see Drew. He's getting an interview with superstars trying to get in the way of reclaiming his WWE Championship. And then again, he states, the only person who will defeat Randy Orton for the WWE Championship will be me. Then Drew says that he makes it clear that he will get his rematch with Orton no matter how many men he has to beat up. And then he's pretty much says that tonight he's going to get the 2-for-1 special against The Miz and Morrison. Because earlier in the night, they did, like right after the first segment, I believe, they were like, oh, this is bullshit. And they said, oh, Drew, if you're so tough, you're the man, you'll beat us in a 2-on-1, or you'll accept our challenge for a 2-on-1 handicap match. So he accepted. Main event. Again, opening segment sets up the main event. Great booking. Because that just shows when the show started, you didn't have a main event. If you want to go, past the kayfabe logic. So then Firefly can't even talk here. Firefly Funhouse segment. There we go. So then Bliss and Bray, they're there, and they're like, oh, we want to talk about the 3 most dangerous letters in WWE. And Huskus is like, oh, P-I-G, like pig. And Alexa's like, no, tickles the belly. And he's like, ooh, hee. And then, Abby the Witch is like, and they're like, no, it's RKO. And then Abby the Witch says, fuck Randy Orton. And they're like, whoa, you're going to put money in the swear jar. And she's like, fuck you too, Alexa Bliss. They're like, whoa, that's going to be a quarter now. So, once they get past the funny shit, Wyatt says that Abby does bring up a good point, and he reminds everyone that once upon a time, Orton was a very bad man. And then we see, of course, all the clips burning down the Wyatt family compound. And then Wyatt says that he never forgets. And then Bliss says that before they go, she needs to show everyone a nifty trick. So Bray puts his hands on Bliss, and then the camera turns red, and then Bliss's tongue rolls out of her mouth like a bloody fruit roll-up, and then Wyatt goes, oh, shit. So then it's supposed to be like he has to put a coin now in the swear jar. But you see this, like, tongue thing. I thought it was supposed to be blood. I guess tongue. I don't know, but, it looked weird. It did look just like a fruit roll-up or some kind of, like, hey, I don't know. I like Alexa Bliss included, but this one was a little, just with the tongue thing. So then we see Jack. She's entering the ring, getting ready to face Lana. But before the match, Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce mock that there's no way that the announce table will make it out of the match in one piece. And then Lana enters, and then she has a pre-match message for Nia Jax, and she says that she refuses to let Jax treat her poorly, and she will turn the tables on her. So this match was really short. Obviously, Nia Jax dominated this thing. You saw some fight in Lana. She stood up at the end, and then she's like, okay, I'm going to give you props. Like, okay. Like, yeah, you want to stand up? So you got guts. She's like, you know what? I respect that. But then she hits a huge Samoan drop, 1, 2, 3. And then, Lana's, and it looks like she's removed, I guess, from the Survivor Series team. I don't know. So there was my pick to be the sole survivor. Now it's going to be Bianca Belair. So then she beats up Lana even more after this thing, puts her through the announce table, 7th week in a row. Backstage, we see R-Truth. He's nursing a sore neck, obviously, from the Hurt Lock, or the full Nelson, rather. And then he said he's cut off by the Hurt Business. They mock him. They're like, yeah, we have a MVP lounge coming up. Like, like, you good, man? You good? Kind of like, Kenny and Sonny Kiss. Like, oh, you good? You good? Okay, thanks. And then we get the MVP segment. MVP says that only the best of the best get to be in the VIP lounge, which is the same case for Survivor Series. He puts over Lashley's dominant win from earlier, and Cedric also puts him over. And then Lashley takes the mic and says that there won't be any games or talking at Survivor Series. And he said, I'm going to put your ass to sleep. Then MVP says that the Hurt Business did away with retribution and that they want their payment, which is a shot at the Raw Tag Team Championships. So then the New Day come out. Xavier Wood jokes about Lashley. He's like, oh, I remember watching you when I was going from 6th to 7th grade. And then Kofi's like, oh, yeah, all these guys are good. They're all legends in their time. And, oh, Cedric, well, yeah, you'll be something one day, I guess. And then he reminds them that the New Day are the most decorated tag team champs of all time. And he said, me personally, I've won more belts than all you guys combined. And then he also says, we won the WWE Championship. And then, MVP says, did you lose that in 8 seconds? And he's like, oh, yeah, 8 seconds. That's funny. That's how long I heard Bobby Lashley last in bed with Lana. So then, they get really pissed off. And then after that, MVP says that the Hurt Business, they don't play around and joke. And that he says, when we talk about footwork, it's because we're stomping your teeth out. And he said, let me assure you, gentlemen, you do not want to dance with us. Then MVP finishes by saying that Cedric and Shelton will take the tag team titles away from the New Day tonight. And the Woods makes notes of the fact that the New Day are the global conglomerate and that the Hurt Business are failing a 2020 internet startup. So, he's going on, and they're like, oh, we're not worried about you guys. We're worried about the Street Profits at Survivor Series. And then they do the whole New Day Rocks chant. And then we go to this matchup after the commercial break. So back live, this match was good. Kofi is great. Xavier Woods is great. Shelton and Cedric are fantastic. This was really good. At some point, I do think after Survivor Series, I could really see, the Hurt Business becoming, or, I could really see them becoming the tag team champs, because what do you need to make this group dominant. You need to put the belts on them to look good. The New Day is a good team to, if you don't really know what to do, which they never know what to do in the tag division, you put the belts on the New Day. And you get them, get a little bit of steam behind them, and then you give it to a new team like this. They've done that with the Bar, and hopefully they do it here with the Hurt Business. But at the end of this thing, Kofi goes for a high spot. Shelton gets in the way. Lots of back and forth and reversals, but a blind tag to Cedric, who hits a neutralizer, followed by a pay dirt from Shelton, and then Cedric pins Woods for the 1, 2, 3. So this wasn't for the belts, obviously, but this is hopefully going to be a precursor of what is to take place. So then backstage, we get Nikki Cross. She walks over to Alexa Bliss. Her backstory, she's like, I'm trying to get a hold of you all week. What's going on? She's like, I know it's got to be the Fiend. I know this is bullshit. I've seen you and Bray in the Funhouse segments. What's going on? She grabs her by the shoulder, spins her around. You see Alexa Bliss. She has the eye makeup on, the contacts in. She looks all possessed. Nikki Cross is just freaked out, and then she runs away. And then when we come back from the commercial, we get Ricochet and Tucker. They're set to face off. I thought I was watching Monday Night Raw, not main event. Here we are, though. These two guys are talented. They have a good long match to really show themselves. Is Tucker going to be a a single star? They're going to start pushing Ricochet. Well, maybe one of those things, but definitely not with Tucky. So Tucker pretty much, he hits a recoil or gets hit by a recoil right away and done. But Ali, he was out there pretty much just standing on the announce table while this match was going on, the whole 4 seconds it was. And, he summons Retribution then. They beat up Tucker. He's, done. Like I said, what did I say, here when they split them up? I said 24/7 championship garbage and done. He beats up Otis. They have that little feud, but then that goes nowhere. You could have put them both on the Survivor Series team, had them fight in the Survivor Series. That would have been cool. Now, let's not do that. We'll just job out Tucker and forget him. Hopefully, I would like to see him join Retribution if you're going to do anything, because at least he'll be on TV. Or if not, send him to NXT or do something, but he's way too good to be used in this role. But then Retribution, after, Tucker's dead and buried, they pretty much turn their attention to Ricochet. They beat him up. And, they stand there looking tall. So we'll see what that storyline is, because I guess the Hurt Business beat up Retribution. Now they got to beat up, just one single guy to feel dominant, I guess. Who knows? I'm not too sold really on this Retribution. I like Ali. I like pretty much all those guys that are involved, but just the way that they're going is not very good. And that's not, not their fault, obviously. But then back from that, we see Drew and Sheamus backstage. Sheamus is like, hey, man, I know you're going after the championship. I know you're, but why don't you just, hey, let that go. Join the Survivor Series team. Be legit. We can get the Celtic connection going again. And Drew says, hey, my focus is on Orton. I appreciate the offer. Sheamus says, well, it still stands, but go out there and kick that Miz and Morrison's ass. He's like, give him a Claymore for me. So then we go to the ring for Miz and Morrison versus Drew McIntyre in a handicap match. Here we are, folks. Main event already. Got through it pretty quick. Thank you. And then Morrison, he takes advantage, early on, and they try to, what would you say, take advantage of Drew? But are you really going to have Drew look weak here? Like the thing I said in the beginning, these guys are presented more serious in this feud than maybe the beginning of the Otis feud. They're still like riding the end of the Otis feud into this, where they're presented in a more serious manner. And that's what this kind of was, but they're still the losers, the joke guys, if you're comparing them to Drew, Randy, and Bray, or the Fiend. So they weren't going to get much here. Even, the Miz, who his finisher is pretty much a joke. He hit the skull-crushing finale. Of course, Drew kicked out of that thing. And then the one spot I did like, though, he hit I believe it was like a spine buster or a power slam on the Miz, and then he kind of like bridged over, and then Morrison comes in the ring and he does like a running shooting star press. So that was really cool. He broke that up. So pretty much at the end of this thing, how do you think it was going to end? McIntyre hits the Claymore on the Miz, 1, 2, 3. He wins. He wasn't going to lose his handicap match against, what I said, the two weakest guys in the main event feud, unfortunately. But as long as the Miz still has that money in the bank, he is still a threat. But Randy Orton slithers in, RKO on Drew. WWE champions got to look good, but of course, the looming threat of the Fiend. The lights go dark, we hear the laugh, ha 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 ha, boom, as the show goes off the air. So, good opening segment with everything in the main event. Decent main event for just getting Randy Orton involved, the Fiend, everything. The Funhouse segment was kind of funny. It was a Raw, the Hurt Business. It was a Raw that it didn't do a lot good, but it really didn't do a lot bad. Just everything with, the Survivor Series teams. I'd like to see them gel a little more, be a little bit more, of a cohesive unit, but maybe it'll make for a fun Survivor Series team. Who knows? Because I don't think SmackDown team is really going to be much better with a babyface Kevin Owens, a heel Jey Uso, and that's all we know for that team so far. So we'll see what they do. But, guys, thank you so much for watching Monday Night Raw Review. And, of course, follow us on all the social media if you haven't already. Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, the Original Rope Break right here on YouTube, and, of course, the newest home for Rope Break, alleverythingentertainment.com. And we will be back for, I don't know, tell me what you guys think. Do you like the NXT on Wednesday nights, or do you like AEW Wednesday nights and NXT on Thursday? Let me know in the comments, and, maybe we'll go by what you guys say, or we'll see which show looks better with the matches announced. But it is the go-home show for Full Gear, so maybe we'll do that first. Who knows? But, guys, stay tuned, because, no matter what, Rope Break will bring you to coverage. So we only have one thing left to say, because Wani is here with me in spirit.